What if your dog isn't just smart, but secretly a genius not trained, not commanded? Yet somehow they know exactly what you mean before you even finish speaking. It's not magic. It's real. And it's rare. Most dog owners miss the signs. But today, you won't. Here are 16 shocking clues your dog might be far more intelligent than anyone ever realized. And sign number 8. It's the one that'll change everything you thought you knew about your furry best friend. Hit subscribe, because what you're about to discover could reshape your bond forever. So how do you know if your dog is one of the rare few? Let's start with the first unmistakable sign. And once you see it, you'll never look at them the same way again. Sign number 1. The word they were never taught. There are moments when your dog does something that almost feels impossible. You're speaking casually, saying words you've never practiced with them, and suddenly they move as though they understood every syllable. No repetition, no hand signal, no training at all. Just comprehension, like a hidden language between your heart and theirs. Science calls it contextual language, processing the ability to grasp meaning from situation, rather than drills. But for you standing there in awe, it feels less like science and more like a miracle. Imagine this. You're in the living room distracted, and you murmur, "Bring the toy." Your dog perks up, trots away, and returns with the exact one. Not because you rehearsed it, but because they were listening, connecting words to actions through love and memory. It's the same magic children use when they learn to speak. They don't memorize commands, they absorb meaning from living alongside you. That's what your dog is doing, too. And here's the deeper beauty. When a being listens this closely, they aren't just decoding sounds. They're stepping into your world, choosing to understand you. That is intelligence born not of obedience, but of empathy. But this is only the beginning. If your dog can grasp a word you never taught, what else are they capable of understanding without you even realizing it? The answer unfolds in the next sign, one that reveals not just intelligence, but strategy. Sign number 2. The silent problem solver. Picture this. A ball slips under the cabinet, rolling just far enough out of reach that most dogs would give up. But yours doesn't. You didn't point, you didn't signal, you didn't even notice. Yet they crouch down, nose pressed against the floor, paw nudging, circling with determination. And then, like a little engineer in fur, they try something new, hooking the rug with a paw, shifting it like a lever, inventing their own solution. That is not luck. That is strategy. This kind of thinking reveals something profound. Your dog is not simply reacting to life, they're learning how to overcome it. Each attempt, each adjustment, is a glimpse into a mind that refuses to stop at failure. You are watching resilience, persistence, and raw intelligence unfold in front of you. And as you stand there, half amazed, half humbled, you realize you're not just looking at a pet chasing a toy. You're looking at a companion who knows how to struggle, how to fail, and how to rise again, qualities we humans admire most deeply in ourselves. But here's where the story bends into something even more moving. Because intelligence in dogs isn't only about problem-solving with objects. Sometimes the puzzle is you, your silence, your tiredness, your hidden pain. And the way they solve that may surprise you even more. Sign number 3. The listener without words. There are evenings when you come home without a single tear, without a sigh, carrying your exhaustion like a hidden weight. You sit down quietly, trying not to let the world see. But your dog knows. They don't rush forward. They don't bark for attention. Instead, they simply sit beside you, silent, steady, a living presence that says, "I'm here, and I see you." Sometimes they nudge your hand with their nose, as if reminding you that even in silence, you are never alone. This is not training. You cannot teach empathy. It blooms only when two souls share a bond so deep that words become unnecessary. Scientists call it emotional attunement, but in that moment it feels more like your dog is reading your heart the way others read a book. And sometimes they do more than listen. They act. Without a command, without a glance, they bring you something familiar. Your favorite slippers, a toy that makes you smile, or even your walking shoes urging you to step outside and breathe again. They aren't guessing. They are observing every subtle change in your breath, your shoulders, your rhythm. They step into your need before you even name it. But empathy doesn't stop there. Because sometimes their understanding grows into something astonishing, choosing an object out of many, the exact one you named. How can they possibly know? That's where our next sign unfolds. Sign number 4, the keeper of names. You scatter toys across the living room floor, a dozen different shapes and colors, each waiting to be claimed. Then you say just one word, perhaps the name of a toy you haven't touched in months. Without hesitation, your dog weaves through the clutter and picks up the right one, carrying it back with pride, as if they've just solved a riddle only the two of you share. To us, words are sounds. To them, words are living pictures tied to memories, tied to feelings. Scientists have discovered that some dogs can recognize not just a handful, but dozens, even hundreds of objects by name. They aren't memorizing mechanically like a computer. They are remembering like a friend holding on to each moment you created together. That red ball isn't just ball. It's the sound of laughter from the day it first bounced across the yard. That soft bear isn't just toy. It's the comfort they carried to you on a night when your tears were too heavy. And as you watch, you realize something deeper. Your dog is not just listening to you. They are curating a dictionary of your shared life, one word, one memory, one tender moment at a time. But recognition is only one part of their brilliance. Because sometimes before a word is spoken, before a command is even formed, they already know what you're about to do. And that takes us to the next sign, one that feels almost like mind reading. Sign number 5, the mind reader of routines. It happens in the smallest moments. You reach for the closet door, and before the hinge even creaks, your dog is already at your side. You brush a hand across your favorite mug, and they trot to the kitchen door, waiting as if the morning has already been written. You haven't spoken, you haven't called, yet they know. Every movement, every sigh, every pattern of your day has been memorized, stitched into an invisible script that your dog rehearses with you again and again. It isn't guessing, it's memory. To them, your life is a song, and each note, whether the shuffle of slippers on the floor or the click of a light switch, signals what comes next. That's why they rise before you reach the leash, why they wait at the window just before you return from work, why they stir minutes before a storm. They don't own clocks, they don't check calendars. They own you, your rhythm, your heartbeat, and they keep perfect time. What does this mean? It means your dog doesn't just live beside you. They live with you, in tune with every gesture you make. They don't need explanations. Just your presence is enough. But what truly astonishes is not only that they remember so much, but that they choose to respond with love, even when your own emotions spill over. And that takes us to the next sign, when intelligence softens into comfort, and wisdom takes the form of a gentle touch. Sign number 6, the gentle healer of your storms. There are days when your anger slips out before you can catch it. Your voice rises sharp like thunder cracking across the sky. Most beings would retreat, hide from the storm until the air clears. But not your dog. Instead of running, they step closer. quietly, slowly. Their head bows, their nose brushes your hand, and in that simple touch they say, "What words cannot, I know you're hurting. Let me carry a little of it for you." It's not submission. It's not fear. It is empathy woven into action. They sense that beneath the thunder is a heart aching for calm, and so they bring calm. They offer not a solution, but presence. No judgment, no blame. Just a reminder that you are still loved even at your most unlovable. And in that moment, the storm inside you softens. Science might call this emotional regulation, the way dogs adjust their behavior to soothe the humans they love. But standing there with tears threatening and anger dissolving, you realize it is something more. It is a lesson in forgiveness. Your dog does not care about the mistake you made 5 seconds ago. They care about healing you right now. And yet, their intelligence doesn't stop at reading emotions. Sometimes they step beyond comfort into something that feels almost human, learning not just by listening but by watching. That is where the next sign reveals itself, and it may change how you see every glance they cast your way. Sign number 7. The Watchful Student. Have you ever caught your dog staring at you, not with the usual sparkle of play, but with the steady gaze of a student memorizing every move? You open a door with a twist of the handle, and days later you hear the faint scrape of paws as they try to mimic that same twist. You slide a chair to reach something high, and later they nudge a stool as though experimenting with the same logic. This is not coincidence. This is learning by watching a skill once thought to belong only to children imitating their parents. Your dog is not simply copying gestures. They are studying the world through your hands, your rhythm, your problem-solving. Each glance is a silent lecture, each action a lesson absorbed. And when they mirror you, it feels less like imitation and more like partnership. Like a child who picks up a parent's habits, your dog gathers your ways of living, shaping their own intelligence through the lens of your life. But watching alone is not the limit, because sometimes they look at you not to learn, but to ask. There are moments when their eyes lift to yours, holding a question so pure it stops you cold. And that gaze, more powerful than words, is the heart of the next sign, one that might change how you understand your bond forever. Sign number 8. The eyes that ask without words. There are moments when your dog doesn't move, doesn't bark, doesn't even breathe loudly. They simply look at you. Not the casual glance of a pet waiting for food, but a steady, unshakable gaze that pierces through the noise of your life. You're struggling with something, an unfinished task, a heavy silence, a feeling you can't name, and they raise their eyes as if to say, "Do you need my help?" That gaze is unlike any other. It is not the stare of demand. It is the question of a soul tethered to yours. In that moment, the room falls away. There is only you and those eyes shimmering with a purity that few humans have ever offered. They cannot form sentences. They cannot reason aloud. Yet their eyes speak in a language made only for two, you and them. Some researchers call it referential looking, a behavior linked to shared understanding. But for anyone who has felt it, it is much more. It is recognition. It is trust. It is love distilled into a single glance. And when you answer by moving, by speaking, or sometimes by simply holding their gaze, the bond tightens, invisible but unbreakable. But eyes are only one way they keep pace with your life. Because there are other ways your dog seems to master time itself, sensing meals, walks, even storms without a single word from you. And that takes us to the next sign, one that feels almost supernatural. Sign number 9, the living clock. Your dog doesn't own a watch, doesn't glance at a calendar. and yet somehow they are always on time. Breakfast walks the moment you arrive home from work, they know. Long before you reach for the leash, long before the sound of your keys rattles at the door, they're already waiting tail, swaying like the pendulum of a clock wound only by love. It seems mystical, but it's not magic. Dogs memorize your rhythms the way a musician learns a song. The way you move in the morning, the light falling through the kitchen window, the faint shift in your breathing before you stand, they collect each cue and string them together like notes in a symphony. And they play that symphony back every single day, keeping step with you, as though your life were a dance they've rehearsed 1,000 times. Sometimes their timing stretches beyond daily life. They stir moments before a storm breaks restless, before the air even shifts, sensing changes in pressure and scent that you cannot detect. To you, it feels like prediction. To them, it is simply listening to the world more closely than we ever could. But perhaps the most moving part is not that they know when you eat or walk, but that they know when to stay still when sadness drapes over you like a shadow. And they wait quietly as though their very presence could reset the clock inside your chest. And yet timing is not everything. Because knowing when to act is powerful, but knowing how to hold back is wisdom. And that's exactly what we'll see in the next sign, where intelligence reveals itself not in action, but in restraint. Sign number 10. The wisdom of restraint. There are times when your emotions run heavy. You raise your voice, your frustration spills into the room, or your silence lingers sharp as broken glass. Many creatures would mirror that energy, reflecting chaos back at you. But your dog does something remarkable. They pause. They soften. They stay present without overwhelming you, as though they understand that sometimes love is not about doing more, it's about doing less. Think of it like a candle in a storm. Instead of flaring higher, they lower their flames, steadying themselves so they don't add to the wind inside you. If you are sad, they do not demand attention. If you are irritated, they stay close, but quiet. If you are lost in thought, they give you space, waiting with patience only a true companion can hold. This is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of it. Scientists describe it as emotional self-regulation, but what you feel is compassion. It's the realization that your dog is adjusting not for themselves, but for you. In their silence is loyalty. In their restraint is love. And then just when you think they are simply quiet observers, they surprise you. Because there are moments when they don't wait for you to ask, don't wait for you to remember. They take the first step, offering exactly what you need before you even realize you need it. That is where the next sign unfolds. Sign number 11. The Thoughtful Initiator. There are days when your mind is heavy, wandering elsewhere, and you forget the simplest routines. You glance at the clock and realize you missed the usual walk, or you search aimlessly for an item you can't quite place. Then suddenly, there it is, your dog standing before you, leash in mouth, or gently placing the lost object at your feet. They are not waiting for instructions. They are stepping into your world, taking action, as if to remind you, I've got you covered. These moments are more than convenience. They are proof of independent thought. Your dog isn't reacting like a machine programmed to follow commands. They are observing, anticipating, and then choosing to act. It is intention wrapped in devotion. Like a friend who notices your hunger before you speak, or a child who brings you water without being asked, your dog becomes not just a follower of your life, but a partner shaping it alongside you. Science tells us dogs can understand human gestures, track gazes, and even infer needs from subtle cues. But what you feel in those moments is deeper than research. It feels like love that refuses to stay passive, a love that transforms into gentle responsibility. And just when you think their independence ends at helping, they reveal another layer of brilliance. Because in play they show a kind of imagination you might only expect from a child. That is where the next sign will leave you smiling in wonder. Treat number 12. The Playful Pretender. In the middle of a game, something extraordinary happens. Your dog suddenly freezes eyes wide pretending to be caught, or tumbles onto the floor as if your playful swipe knocked them down. A second later, they spring up, tail wagging, eyes glowing with mischief. They are not confused. They are pretending. They are keeping the game alive with imagination. This is not instinct. Instinct chases the ball. Instinct pulls the rope. But imagination, that belongs to minds capable of creating joy for the sake of someone else. Your dog knows that when they act surprised, when they feign defeat, your laughter blooms. And that laughter is their reward, brighter than any treat you could offer. In that moment, they become more than a playmate. They become a storyteller weaving scenes with you in the theater of happiness. Think of a child who hides badly in a game of hide-and-seek, giggling just loud enough for you to find them. They don't want to win. They want to keep the magic alive. That is what your dog is doing. Not just playing, but inventing, stretching their intelligence into creativity, into shared delight. And this creativity doesn't stop with you. Because when they step into the park surrounded by other dogs, they begin to study, adapt, and craft new ways to connect. Which brings us to the next sign, proof that your dog's genius extends far beyond your living room. Sign number 13, the social learner. Take your dog to the park and watch what happens. At first, they hang back eyes, scanning tail, twitching with curiosity. They don't dive in recklessly. They observe. They study how the other dogs greet, how they bow to play, how they chase, and then pause to let the slower one catch up. And then, the next time your dog joins in not as a clumsy outsider, but as one who has quietly gathered the rules of this unspoken society. This is social intelligence, a gift rare even in the animal kingdom. It is the ability to watch, to adapt, to take lessons from others, and fold them into one's own behavior. Children do this on playgrounds. Dogs do it on the grass, in the swirl of barks and paws. They are not merely reacting. They are choosing who to copy, what to adopt, and how to fit in. For you, it's more than fascinating. It's reassuring. Because it means your dog is not locked into instinct. They are open, flexible, capable of growth. And when they return to you bringing those lessons from their peers, it deepens the bond you share. They are learning not just for themselves, but to strengthen the connection with you. And yet even social genius is only one side of their brilliance. There is another layer that often slips unnoticed, their grasp of order, of logic, of sequence. The ability to understand not just what happens, but when and why. That is the next sign, and it will make you realize your dog might be reasoning in ways you never imagined. Sign number 14, the Master of Sequence. Every morning unfolds like a quiet performance, and your dog is the most attentive audience. They know the script better than anyone. When you slip into your jacket before reaching for the leash, they wait patient, knowing the show is not yet ready to begin. But when you grab the leash first, their body springs to life, already stationed at the door. They don't need explanations. They understand the sequence, the logical order of things. This is not blind habit. It is reasoning, the ability to weave together patterns and meaning. Your dog has built a map of your life, a chain of cause and effect, and they walk that map with astonishing accuracy. Like a detective piecing together clues, they infer what comes next, long before you speak it aloud. It's easy to overlook, to dismiss as simple routine. But pause for a moment and imagine what it means. Your dog is not just memorizing actions. They are interpreting logic. They know that dressing before the leash means delay, but leash before jacket means adventure. They know the rhythm of preparation, and they act accordingly. And yet beneath all this intelligence, there lies something even greater. Because the most extraordinary thing about your dog is not just their ability to think, it is their ability to love. And that truth unfolds in the next sign, where every touch, every glance, every act of learning is revealed as rooted in the simplest, most powerful force of all. Sign number 15. The wisdom born of love. When you look closely, you realize that none of these signs, whether it's solving a puzzle, memorizing your routines, or reading your silence, exist in isolation. They all grow from the same soil love. Your dog's intelligence is not built from textbooks or drills. It is nurtured by your presence, by the gentle brush of your hand each morning, by the sound of your voice at dusk, by the trust you give without even knowing. Love is their teacher, and from it they draw lessons no classroom could ever hold. A ball retrieved is not just play, it is devotion in motion. A gaze held too long is not mere curiosity, it is loyalty carved into silence. Each action becomes a reflection of the bond you've built, proof that their wisdom is not mechanical, but emotional, a living extension of the heart. Science might call it social cognition, a blending of empathy, memory, and adaptation. But you standing in the quiet of your living room with a dog pressed close against your leg know better. You know it is love learning how to think. You know it is love reshaping itself into understanding. And the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. Intelligence is not their greatest gift. It is the way they use it to connect, to comfort, to remind you that in their world, you are the center. But before we call this journey complete, there is one more sign often overlooked that ties everything together. And it may leave you more humbled than all the rest. Sign number 16. The mind and heart greater than you imagined. There comes a moment often when you least expect it, when all the little signs gather into one undeniable truth. You look at your dog not as the playful creature chasing shadows, not as the obedient partner at the end of a leash, but as a being with a mind and a heart larger than you ever dared to believe. You see it in the way they solve a puzzle without guidance, in the way they know your sadness without words, in the way they adjust themselves just to keep your soul from breaking. It is then you realize you are not simply raising a pet. You are living beside a companion whose intelligence flows from love, whose loyalty sharpens into wisdom, whose every glance holds more honesty than many people you've known in a lifetime. And in that recognition, pride wells up inside you, not pride in yourself, but in them, in the quiet genius who has chosen you as their human. This is the revelation that shifts everything. The leash becomes not a tether, but a bridge. The food bowl not just a routine, but a daily covenant. Every wag, every sigh, every soft step across the floor becomes proof of a bond deeper than training, deeper than instinct. And yet even with all these signs laid bare, there are still more wonders waiting. Because science has uncovered even greater truths abilities in dogs that stretch the limits of what we thought possible. And in the next signs, beginning with the 17th, you may find your dog's genius goes beyond love and memory, reaching into realms of perception and recognition. That will astonish you. Sign number 17. The reader of faces. You've seen it before, but perhaps never stopped to wonder. You smile without a sound and your dog's tail stirs like a breeze, lifting leaves. You frown and their ears tilt back, body lowering as if to catch your sorrow before it spills. They are not guessing. They are reading. Not words, not commands, but faces. Scientists have shown that dogs can distinguish human expressions, telling joy from anger, comfort from tension. But when you feel it for yourself, it is not a study. It is a miracle. Your dog looks at you the way a dear friend might, searching your eyes for truths you haven't spoken. And in their gaze, you find understanding without the burden of explanation. For older souls, for those who have lived long enough to know silence often carries more weight than words, this gift is profound. A dog that reads your face is a dog that keeps you from disappearing into loneliness. Each wrinkle at the corner of your eyes, each crease on your forehead becomes a verse in the story they follow faithfully. And the story doesn't stop at faces. Because sometimes it is not your expression they listen for, but your very voice, its tone, its rhythm, even its melody. And in that, the next sign reveals a kind of recognition that feels almost like music shared between two hearts. Sign number 18. The voice. They never forget. You call their name, and they come. That part doesn't surprise you. But then one evening, you speak in a whisper from across the house, and somehow they still find you as though your voice were a lighthouse, guiding them through the dark. Scientists have discovered that dogs don't just recognize speech from non-speech, they can actually tell one voice from another, and yours above all is etched into their memory, like a song they never tire of hearing. Think of it this way: to your dog, your voice is music. The gentle tones when you greet them in the morning are a sunrise melody. The laugh that escapes you when they do something silly is a chorus they replay in their minds. Even the weary sigh you let slip at the end of a long day is a note they know by heart. And unlike people who may forget, they never confuse your song with anyone else's. It goes further. Some studies suggest dogs even respond differently to intonation, picking up on whether your words carry joy, tension, or sorrow. They are listening not only to what you say, but to how you say it. And in that attention lies devotion. But if the voice is their music, then nature itself is their stage. Because sometimes your dog responds not to you, but to the earth shifting uneasily before a storm alert, before the ground even trembles. And that leads us to the next sign, one that feels almost supernatural, as though your companion carries a sixth sense woven deep within their being. Sign number 19, the silent forecaster. The sky looks calm, the air still. To you, nothing seems unusual. Yet your dog begins to pace, ears pricked, body restless, as though listening to a secret you cannot hear. Minutes later, the clouds darken, or the ground trembles ever so slightly. What felt sudden to you was already written in their bones. Dogs with senses far keener than ours can detect changes in air pressure, faint vibrations in the earth, and even scents carried on the wind that foretell storms and earthquakes. It feels like magic, but it is nature itself whispering warnings to them. And in turn, they whisper those warnings to you not with words, but with movement, with unease, with a glance that seems to say, "Prepare." For people who live alone, especially in later years, this gift is more than fascinating. It is protective. A dog who senses danger before it arrives becomes not just a pet, but a guardian, a living alarm clock tuned to the rhythms of the earth. And yet, what is most moving is not just their ability to foresee, but the way they share that foresight with you. They do not run away from storms. They stay close to your side, as if their presence could anchor you through the uncertainty. But beyond predicting the weather and the tremors of the world, there is another gift waiting one that proves your dog carries more than instincts. They carry memories not just of routines, but of single moments, the rare kind that linger for years. And that is where the next sign begins to unfold. Sign number 20. The Keeper of Memories. There are days you think your dog lives only in the moment, chasing today's ball, savoring today's meal curling at your feet as the sun sets. But then something happens that shatters that assumption. Weeks, even months, after a single fleeting event, your dog reacts as if it just occurred. You sit in the same chair where you once nursed an illness, and they approach cautiously, eyes full of concern, remembering the weakness you carried then. You pick up a jacket you haven't worn since winter, and they wag their tail, recalling the walks you shared in the biting cold. Science calls this episodic-like memory, the ability to recall unique experiences rather than mere routines. For dogs, these memories are not lists of facts, but living echoes of life shared with you. They remember not only the walk, but the mood you carried during it. Not only the toy, but the laughter that burst from your chest as you played. Each memory is a bead, and together they string a necklace of devotion around your life. This truth carries weight especially for those who fear being forgotten with time. Your dog remembers. They carry your story, storing fragments of joy and sorrow in ways no diary could capture. And yet even memory is not the final step of their brilliance. Because there is one more gift, they hold a gift that shows they do not only learn from you, but from the world around them. And in that, the final sign of genius is revealed. Sign number 21. The social scholar watch closely the next time your dog is surrounded by others, whether humans or dogs. They do not plunge in blindly. They wait, they study, they decide. From one dog, they learn how to bow low to invite play. From another, they learn patience in the chase, slowing just enough to keep the game alive. From you, they learn how to open doors, how to fetch the right object, how to sit quietly when the moment calls for calm. This is not mimicry. It is selective learning. Like a scholar choosing the right teacher, your dog knows whom to watch, what to copy, and when to apply it. They weave together lessons from every source, creating a mind that is not static, but growing, adapting, reshaping itself to belong more deeply to your world. It is a reminder that your dog is not only instinct and loyalty. They are choice and discernment. They are a living witness to the truth that intelligence is not about knowing everything, but about knowing what matters most. And to them, what matters most is you. So when you see your dog tilt their head, study your movements, or linger a little longer at the edge of the park, know this: they are gathering wisdom to bring back to the bond you share. Their learning is not for survival alone. It is for connection. And with that, the circle closes. 21 signs each, a window into the mind of your dog. But perhaps the greatest sign of all is not numbered. It is the quiet knowledge that your companion in their own extraordinary way has been learning you all along. So now you've seen it, 21 signs that reveal your dog may be far more than a companion. They are a listener, a problem solver, a keeper of memories, a reader of your face and heart. They live not just beside you, but with you, learning, adapting, loving, in ways that even science struggles to measure. And perhaps the truest sign of all is not on any list. It is in the quiet way your dog chooses you every single day. In their eyes you are the story worth remembering, the song worth listening to, the home worth guarding. That is the genius of a dog, not only intelligence, but love sharpened into wisdom. So the next time your dog nudges your hand, tilts their head, or waits silently at the door, pause for a moment. Look closer. Because you may not just be raising a dog, you may be walking through life with a soul that understands you more than you've ever understood yourself. If you've seen even one of these signs in your furry friend, be proud. Be grateful. Because you are not just a dog owner. You are a companion to a quiet genius. And if this touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Every week we'll explore more of the hidden world, where dogs and humans meet not just as pets and owners, but as partners in a story still being written. In the next video, I'll share something even more surprising: the hidden gestures dogs use at night, when the world is silent, to tell us how deeply they love. Until then, hold your dog close. Because love deserves to be understood, and every dog deserves to be seen as the miracle they are.